One of the things that's got to be done before we can start using Lizzy is we've got to get our serialized units inserted into the system. Now, it's not necessary that we insert all of the serialized units on day one, but we do need to know how to do it so that if we start to sell a unit that we don't already have in the system, we can get it in there as quickly as possible. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to the serialized section. We're going to hit locate, and I would always do a locate even if you're fairly certain the unit's not already in the system, because it's possible someone else has started putting them in and you're not aware of it, and now all of a sudden you got the same unit in there twice. So I would always go in and search for the VIN number to make sure that it's not already in the system. So in this case, I'm just going to make one up. And so as I can see, as soon as this thing goes blank, I do not have the unit in stock. Now, you do need to make sure that your options up here at the top are either set to new or pre-owned so that it's finding the stuff in the right section. But the VIN thing overrides everything and is specifically looking for that VIN number. Now, as soon as I realize I don't have it in there, I'm absolutely certain it's not already in the system, we're going to come over here to add unit. So over on the left, we're going to select add unit. And the first thing that it wants to know is what is the model number of the unit. So I'm going to start typing in the model number. Now, once I have entered a model into the system, I'm never going to type that year, make, and model again. So the system is set up so that you're not repeating yourself when you're going through and doing this, but you do have to put it in the first time. So I would make sure when you're putting model numbers in that you're putting them in the correct way, and I'll explain some of this as we go. But you don't want to just throw a bunch of junk in the system, because then you'll end up regretting it later. So I'm going to select add new model just for a second, because I want to kind of mention a few things when you're going through the model information. But you'll notice when I hit add new model, I get up here, this is a new unit, what location if I've got multiple locations, the unit bin if I want to use bins. The manufacturer is very important. The year is important if you use it. If you don't use it, just set it to 0 or leave it blank, and Lizzy will take care of that for you. The model number, the vendor order code, and the model name and the type of unit all need to be filled out if they are applicable. Now, type of unit definitely has to be filled out, but the model number is going to be the model number that you're going to order from the vendor. So it's their model number. Now, in the case of some vendors, they actually have what's called an order code or a part number that goes with that unit. So when you order it, instead of putting the model number on the purchase order, you're actually going to put this other number. That's what the vendor order code is for. The model name is generally used for a more descriptive. This is usually what the customer would refer to this thing as if they came up and said, hey, I own a CBR 1000. So the model name is not always the same thing as the model number, and if you don't have a reason to have the model name, you don't have to fill that in. So the vendor order code and the model name you don't have to fill in if you don't know them or they're not really applicable. The model number and the unit type we've got to fill in. So, and that's pretty much it. The model description is just a little bit more detailed description of that particular model, but it's also not required. Now, I'm going to come back in here and just select. So we're just going to pretend that we selected one that was already in the list. And you'll notice when we do it comes up and everything's already filled out for me. So the type of unit, the model number, the vendor, everything is already filled out based on that previously selected item. So either one of these things results in me coming to the same screen to enter in my details. Now, once I get the unit in here, once I get the unit in here, we get a serial number in that's the proper length in this case, since it's a sport bike. The main thing that we're going to do is we're going to come down here to the bottom and we're going to fill in our MSRP promo and the unit price. So this field right here is our unit price and our unit cost. This is what we actually paid for the unit. Now, once we get this in, we're just going to save it. And I guess I got my VIN number the wrong length anyway. See if which way I went. There we go. So I have the unit in stock, but let's take a look at what happened. So because this unit it just showed up out of the blue, Lizzy doesn't know what to do with it. So she has hit inventory shrinkage for this particular unit. Well, I don't want it to go to inventory shrinkage. I want it to go to a purchase order because I owe money on it. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to come back over to view unit, and we're going to tell it to refinance this particular unit. So right here we have a button that says refinance unit, and we're going to select this button. Now there's videos, there's a video in the accountant section that will actually explain more detail about this particular feature, but with respect to putting units in that we already have in stock and we're just trying to do a conversion, this is the only thing that you really need to know how to do. So the first thing that we have is who are we financing this thing through. So we're just going to come in here. Let's pick GE Finance as an example. This is the amount that we're going to refinance, the date that we want to create the purchase order, and the offsetting account. Now you'll notice the offsetting account is the same account that we used when we created the unit. So the system is basically going to flush out that money that we originally put into the inventory shrinkage account. It's going to bring it back out of there and create a purchase order for us. So all you've got to do is hit refinance. And unless you're using full departmental accounting, you're not going to have to do this step. But this gets us a PO now that has this particular unit on it, saying that we owe the vendor for that particular unit for the amount that we filled in the box when we did the refinance. So it's a pretty quick process to get these units in. Just remember to spend time on these model numbers to make sure you're actually using correct model numbers. You can always go back and change model info on a unit if you did put it in wrong. You just go back and look at the model and change the info on it. So it's fairly easy to fix if you do mess something up, but it's better to try to do everything correctly in the beginning.